part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
Gentlemen across the nation, I have an urgent message for you. This episode is brought to you by Manscaped. The brand that took your balls to space is now launching them into the ultrasphere. Introducing the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra, featuring a new cutting-edge design and next-generation dual skin-safe blade heads for different shaves.
It's pretty much a spaceship to take your boys downstairs to the next level. Join the 9 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with the brand new Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra. Just go to manscaped.com for 20% off plus free shipping with the code PRESSPLAY. High tech for low places. Manscaped.
Hello, this is the Ball Card Show, the sports podcast.
For the Sports Collector,
I'm Jason Otero.
I'm Gary LeMaster.
And as always, we are brought to you by the Press
Play
Podcast
Network.
Yes, we are. And today is a big day.
Back from vacation, baby.
Gary's back from his 1 month vacation.
It wasn't a month. I was gone
takes like 7 of them a year.
I was gone for 15 days.
Yeah,
it was
15
great.
days. 15 days, soaking up the sun.
Only 11 were soaking up the sun. A few were in New York City. New York City?
The Sunshine State.
Yeah.
It's always lovely in New York City, I hear.
New York,
you know, what I hear the most is the people are the best part.
Yeah. So what we did was, it was fun. Every time that we go up there, and my wife loves New York City. She's a city girl. I am not a city guy at all. And every time we go to New York City, it's like, this is interesting for about 10 minutes. But she did something for me on this trip that was awesome because stop it with your dirty mind.
I did not say a thing.
No, you just started chuckling. No, so this is how well my wife knows me. She goes, hey, what we're going to do for dinner tonight is we're going to take the subway to Chinatown, and we're just going to walk around.
That might have been the scariest thing you did the whole time was taking that subway.
We actually got used to the subway.
Uh-huh.
I definitely wouldn't own a car if I lived in New York. Like, it's insane.
Yeah.
So we take the subway to Chinatown, and we just walk around Chinatown, and every hole-in-the-wall looking place that does not look like a tourist has ever stepped foot in there, we just went into and got something. And it was just like progressive dinner. We ended up at a dim sum place.
Oh, all food.
Oh, yes.
I didn't know if you meant
No, it's just all food.
like what besides restaurants. I don't know what other Chinese-themed
souvenirs.
Well, you wouldn't be souvenirs.
Trap.
It wouldn't be souvenirs if it wasn't a tourist spot. So I was just trying to think what other wares.
It's just food.
Okay.
Just food.
Gotcha.
Ended up at a dim sum place. I got some amazing chicken feet, and that was great. My wife was not impressed by that at all. And then we wandered into Little Italy and got our dessert there, grabbed some cannolis.
Man, she loves you because watching you eat anything is rough.
It's horrifying, yeah.
But you with chicken feet.
Oh, it's just this finger licking good.
Never forgive you for bringing that tendon, the tripe or whatever that was, and it congealed in my... Anyway.
Oh, pho, baby.
Yeah. Well, but while you were down there, you stopped in Puerto Rico, Isla de Encanto.
Yeah.
And went to Plaza Las Americas, which is a massive mall.
I got 10,000 steps in at the mall.
Yeah.
It's a big boy.
And if you hadn't seen on TikTok, Gary was able to pick up some cards there.
Yeah, there was an LCS there. I wasn't expecting that, but it was cool. I did pick up some nice cards.
Sweet. Well, you're back.
I am back.
And we're getting ready to head out. As soon as this podcast drops, we are hopping in a car and driving out to PA for the big show for Pittsburgh and Washington.
Crown Plaza.
Yeah. If you are in the Pittsburgh area or nearby, we'd love to meet you. Say, hey, stop by the table. You don't even have to buy anything.
We would like it, but you don't have to.
You don't have to buy a thing. But we'll be out there all weekend. Big show. And they're expecting a massive response unless that's just a promotion, which they've done a pretty good job of.
Well, when I was there in February for the last show, they do these once a quarter. When I was there in February, the guy who runs the show, his name's Mark Hipsley. Hey, Mark.
Hey, Mark.
They had 2,600 or 2,700 hotel rooms booked for the show under their codes. When I talked to him the other day for this show, he said they were upwards of 5,000 rooms. In February, there were about 16,000 or 17,000 people that came through the show. They're expecting close to double that this
Wow.
time. The show is 520 some tables. It's 3 days. It's a big boy. And it's fun. It's a fun show.
Sweet. I'm looking forward to it. Biggest show that I've sat up at. Actually, over the last couple months, been buying some better quality stuff just so I know that my inventory is where it needs to be. I don't know. Hopefully, I get wiped out. You and I were both saying how sweet it would be if someone just bought out our tables on trade night tonight.
Absolutely.
And then we get to shop for the weekend. Shop till we drop.
Oh, yeah.
One card you're really hoping and thinking will move while you're there.
This TJ Watt, bro. That's what needs to move.
That's
it
good.
needs to move because you moved your card and bought another card.
Yeah.
So you are
I'm
not quite caught up, but you're close.
If I move this card I bought, we're there.
If you move this card you bought for what you want for it, and I don't move the TJ Watt, yeah, we are there.
Which
You'll actually
you've
be a
seen it.
little
I'll
bit
talk
in the lead.
about it here in a second. There's a good chance of it.
Yeah, I agree.
So you're thinking the TJ Watt. Aside from that, is there a different one? Because I know we've talked about that a couple times. I'll go first. I had that Bowman Chrome X-Fractor Roethlisberger PSA 10, super low pop, and it's got to move there. The other one I'm hopeful on is the Schmidt rookie that's in a SGC 7.
Yeah.
We're not in Philly, but we're not far from Philly.
Right.
And then I got some cool consignment stuff we'll talk about in a little bit too. But those two, I'm really hopeful we'll get a bite. Those are two that I thought for this show would be good ones.
Yeah, for me, it's probably a combination of things. The Watt, I've got a couple of really nice Machado rookie slabs that are super low numbered that just don't come up very often that I would like to see move that I've had for a little bit. But other than that, it's just my normal churn and burn stuff. Like I don't pay that much attention. It's did I buy it right? Can I sell it right?
I know that I did well getting enough slabs ready to go for this. I just have been consistently selling enough prices marked where it's like hard to stay ahead of the game if you're committed to margins, which I'm really working on.
Yep.
So we'll see. I'm looking forward to it. Do you want me to go ahead and transition into the 5K update?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, so we started it. Gary's sitting on that TJ Watt
for so long.
auto. And man, it's got to move this weekend. It's a pretty card. I
made a cool display for it. So
yeah, that might help. That might help. The Nolan Arenado I talked about forever was sitting in the showcase. The last show I did, one of our friends that we've done a lot of business with over the last couple of years, Craig, stopped by. He knows that I've been hurting to move this thing, and him and I have been doing several little deals here and there. And he said, "Look, I might take this one from you." He said, "What do you need?" I said, "Man, just get me out for what I paid for it." So I don't like doing that on principle. I know the card is worth probably 20% more than what he paid for it, at least. But the market, I did a video about this on our TikTok channel. The market decided it wasn't time. That card got picked up several times out of the showcase, commented on, "Man, that's pretty. What a cool card." And then sat right back down. So it was one of those situations where we can get a little too niche. Like I was feeling a little smart about it. Like, oh, color, team color match, PSA 10 refractor from the, 2010s era. This got a lot going for it. People will decide if it's liquid. And this is one that, and I think you're running into that a little bit with the Watt, especially if it wouldn't move this weekend, that sometimes we get a little too niche as collectors. Yep. And that's what I did. So I got out of that card. I've been working on a large consignment deal with somebody, and those cards came in. Some really cool stuff.
Interesting stuff,
yeah. And one of the cards that was in there was a 2006, 2007 Topps Triple Threads signatures, and it is Bill Walton, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, with game use patches and autographs, numbered to 36.
It's a really cool card. As soon as you showed me pictures, I was like, ooh, because I kind of wanted to buy it, and then you were like, nah, bruh.
The card comps out towards the top end. There was like 2 comps that I found that were in like BGS 8s or 8.5s, which is basically raw on something like that, at right around that 450 mark. So I priced it at that, and then with the structure that we had in place for consignment, I was able to buy it out at what I got that Arenado for at 270. So I think it'll move quick. It's got to be more liquid, especially with the names that are on it. Bird collectors are kind of crazy. Magic. I mean, the Magic patch is 2-color, which is kind of cool. So I'm hopeful that it moves, but it puts me in a spot where, like, if I move this weekend, you're not on your heels, but we're getting close.
there. Yeah. If I don't move the watt, you will be right there. But if we don't move the watt this weekend, just so we're all on the same page, and we've already talked about this, I'm buying it from myself for what I paid for it.
What did you pay for it?
$400.
And you know what'll happen the next week, right?
It'll sell. Yeah, that's what'll happen. But it is what it is.
Yeah.
I will buy it from myself and find another card and see if we can keep this thing moving.
So we do want to see how close we can get. 5K is looking like much more of a reach than it did the first couple sales.
Well, it's just because these 2 cards just died on us. So I guess the move for me going forward is going to be not targeting necessarily a 40% margin.
Yes.
It's going to be, what can I move for 20 or 25% real fast?
Yes. Yep.
Right?
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking that too. And established Hall of Famers or super hot ultra modern. But man, I'm finding myself, this challenge is making me appreciate vintage established players more, because you have a lot of the quick flip on the new stuff, but man, the demand is there for these established guys. So,
which is, I mean, I agree, but we also, like, is there 2 people more established than Arenado and TJ Watt?
yes.
Well, I mean,
Actual Hall of Famers.
well, yeah, but
That's kind of where I'm.
but these are both guys who are gonna be Hall of Famers in their sport.
Yep.
Like, there's no
2
doubt.
cards. I've had 2 cards in this challenge that people asked me if I had any more of, and they moved right away. One was Clemente, one was Jordan.
Yeah.
Luka didn't. He's established, but it's just not the same. So that's been kind of a big takeaway for me with this challenge. It'll be interesting to see where we land with some of that. Let's jump into a real interesting conversation of something happening with Marvin Harrison Jr. So I think he's being painted as a little bit of a villain here, which is entertaining to me. But going into the draft, with the Buckeyes, he didn't play in the bowl game. With Combine, it was like he wasn't given all the looks that everybody. What's going to happen with him? He gets drafted, and now there's a story about his NIL deal. And
It's NFLPA.
yeah,
He hasn't signed it.
NFLPA, and it's not signed. So there's a lot of confusion around what's going on there. You and I were just talking about Pat McAfee addressed this and really helped break it down. But for those that haven't heard, why don't you go ahead and explain what's happening there and how it directly is impacting the hobby?
Yeah, so the way that the hobby works now, especially since Fanatics has their hands in literally every single thing. Once NIL became a thing and college cards became a thing for guys who were currently in school. I mean, we've had draft picks cards for a while, but it's always been guys who are out and can sign a deal. Fanatics has started offering deals to guys when they're like a freshman or a sophomore in college. Once they're a name, if they're a high-profile recruit, they'll offer it to them before they even get into college. And a lot of these guys sign this for lots of reasons, but the biggest one is for most of them, they and their families need the money. And those deals are pretty boilerplate. It doesn't really matter whether you're a big, Heisman winner or a potential Heisman winner or not. They're trying to keep it boilerplate so that they can get ahead of the game and save themselves money in the long run. Well, they offered Marvin Harrison Jr. a deal when he was a sophomore in college, and he said, no, I don't need the money. I just want to focus on football. I don't want to go sign 10,000 stickers and, get
Did you say typically how long those contracts are?
So, yeah, they're usually 4 years. So if you're offered that deal as a sophomore, it runs 2 years into your NFL career. So, again, smart business by Fanatics trying to get as much value as they can get for what they are putting out there. But for a player who doesn't necessarily need the money or want to sign, 10,000 stickers, it's well within the player's right to go, I don't want to do that. And you got to remember, Marvin Harrison Jr.'s dad is a Hall of Famer. And Pat McAfee said this. He has been there, done that.
Yeah.
He has been through all this, and he just said, yeah, just because this works for everybody else doesn't mean we're going to sign it just because everybody else signed it. And my son's value now is way more than it was then, so unless you want to pony up, we're happy to sign a deal that is equitable for both of us, but we're not signing a deal that's equitable for you only.
Yeah. I mean, as a Hall of Famer with a lengthy career, how many contract negotiations did he? You start out, you got.
Well, his
somebody saying,
biggest one was
handle it.
avoiding prison.
Well,
That was his biggest contract negotiation.
but
That dude murdering people. Anyway, go ahead. Yeah.
Well, I don't know if we'll recover from that one. Let's just move on then. So, Fanatics' involvement with all of this.
Yes.
What does this mean? So, what does this probably look like for his NFLPA deal in the coming year? And then what does this mean for, stars in the future?
So what it means for Marvin Harrison Jr. is, as of right now, his likeness will not appear in video games. He will not have autographs in things. Any licensed products, I would imagine that he will probably have some type of a licensing deal with Leaf because they will pay. It'll probably be limited, and those cards will be very expensive for what they are. But at the end of the day, his camp is saying, and listen, they're not wrong. This Fanatics Titan that has taken over everything is consistently trying to throw its weight around behind things. We saw it with the baseball uniforms this year that were just absolute trash so that they can maximize their profits. And this is a player whose camp is standing up and going, yeah, we're not interested in playing that game. Like, I don't care whether my autographs are in a baseball, football card set. I don't care whether I'm in a video game or not. Like, whatever, I'm going to go play football and do what I'm paid to do there. If you guys want to pay me what my market value is, then cool, I'll do that too. But I'm not just doing it because everybody else did it.
Right.
Like, that's dumb. Yeah. Why would I do that? And that's the real picture that should be painted, not this Marvin Harrison Jr. is a selfish dude who's just not willing to do whatever. He's basically saying, you guys are taking advantage of kids early in their careers when they desperately need money, and now you're trying to spin it like I'm the bad guy. And that's not what it is. And he's not wrong. Fanatics is definitely doing that.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Another big play. So let's kind of stay in this main vein with this. So Topps has a couple pretty big announcements. Both of them, I think I'm a fan of.
4 big announcements. I remember what the other one
was. Okay, all right. Start with the one I can't remember.
The one you can't remember. So everybody's least favorite influencer, Jeff Wilson, did an interview with the president of Topps. And it was very, very interesting.
Oh, the rah-rah interview.
Yeah. But one of the things...
Jeff said, can I hold your jock?
Two things that slipped out in that interview that were very interesting. The first one is that PSA... Oh, this was PSA, not Topps. It was with PSA, CEO of PSA. The first thing that popped out is that PSA is now going to start trying to compete with Maigret for photo matching of memorabilia. Authenticated photo matching of memorabilia, which is a really big market in the high-end game.
Why is that?
Because it's creating provenance. So if I know a guy who is probably the biggest Jordan collector on the planet when it comes to memorabilia. He's got the game match shoes and jersey from the flu game, photo matched. So that's what that process is. It's providing provenance for the item. Hey, this has been photo matched. We can see based on the wear on this part of the shoe or the markings here that this, and here's the pictures from the game. So that's a big deal. But the second one that for the card collecting community that popped out, and this is something that the card collecting community has been begging for forever, and it may just push PSA to where I would trust them, which is saying something. They're rolling it out on the highest tiers first, so $150 up grading tier. But they're going to start providing grader's notes. Here's why your card graded what it was. You get a 7 on a card, and there will be a note that says back surface fingernail indent, bottom left quadrant. You're going to find out why your card's graded the way they did. Now, the reason I think, and they want that eventually to trickle all the way down to every service level. That will be fantastic. And what it will also do is it will force PSA to actually give real freaking grades, because If they say, here's a 7 fingernail indent, bottom left quadrant, and then you get the card, and there's no freaking fingernail indent in the bottom left quadrant, and it's in the slab, there's some accountability there. It's not just a mystery number, and you crack it out and send it back in and get a different mystery number.
They're going to have to spend like 27 seconds per card now.
Well, they're going to have to figure out how they're going to track all of it, and that's why they're rolling it out on the highest end first.
Do you think now that they have SGC, there's a little more manpower to pull this off? Is that?
Yes,
okay.
I think that's a big part of it. I was listening to somebody talk about the SGC PSA thing the other day, and there was a take on it that I hadn't thought of with it, and it's that PSA was really trying to acquire graders. They were trying to acquire talent. They were trying to acquire manpower that was already trained and that is respected, especially in the vintage world. PSA desperately needed SGC's vintage expertise, and they got it. So,
yeah, okay. Let's roll over to Topps. A couple significant updates that they rolled out as well. The first one that I want to talk about is the redemption extension. So, what has it been up until this point?
It's usually 2 years.
Yeah, 2 years. So, meaning if I open a box of 2022, whatever product, and there's a redemption, I can still submit it. However, next year it would be too late to submit that.
Yeah, there's usually a date on the redemption card that if you don't redeem it by then, it's not valid.
Now, there have been situations where you're on the 3rd or 4th year. It is a massive card. People throw a fit, and they're like, well, we'll send you something. Can't guarantee you'll be that card. Well, now they've announced that they will be rolling 10 years on redemptions. Now, this is not retroactive.
Yes,
correct?
it is. It's retroactive back to 2021.
Okay, so to 2021.
Yep.
So I guess it just goes back 3 years?
It goes back to when Fanatics took control of the company.
So from now on, these redemptions are valid for 10 years. So what does that mean? That means a few things. Something that I'm excited about with this is, let's say you have a baseball player. He has a rookie year. He kind of falls off, goes down into the minors, gets kicked around the farm league, makes his way back up, is established, but it's another 5 years.
You put some respect on Jackson Holliday's name right now.
Yeah. It's been 5 years, 6 years maybe. All right. Now all of a sudden, this person's popping off. They're established. They are playing really, really well. Well, their rookie autograph was only a redemption, which meant nobody was going to get this card. Now that product is a really interesting one to get your hands on.
Well, to me, that's what it really boils down to is it's going to increase the value of sealed wax, where the big names in the sealed wax were redemptions. And
it also, one thing I like, so the guys that kind of invest but on a budget, but they like to have sealed stuff, this is something where all of a sudden, like, putting a box of like paper tops away is not a bad play. Get one hobby box of each. If you're getting it at the drop right now, it's what, $60-$75 if it's not a jumbo, maybe 80, right? Start filling up a little storage area with that, or a couple totes, and you might really have something that's worth a little bit more than it would have been, once it's past that date. So that's interesting. Here's the trade-off. Here's the pushback from people that are more skeptical and cynical of what's going on there is, all right, it's already taking you centuries to get me my redemption within the last couple of years. How long is it going to take for you to track down a redemption from 7 years ago? That's what people are concerned with.
So two things I think I would say to that. The first one is part of that announcement about extending the redemptions was that there was a heavy commitment being made to lowering the number of redemptions in the product. So that's number one. The second thing you got to remember, and this is something that I think collectors don't think about or understand. When you submit a redemption and you're waiting forever for it, it's not because it's just sitting in a warehouse somewhere and the Topps employee is too lazy to go get it and send it to you. Like, that's not why it's sitting there. It's sitting there because the athlete in question has not signed it yet. Topps is trying to get them to sign it. That athlete has a contract that says they will sign it by X date. What's the enforcement method for that? Is Topps sending a SWAT team out with guns to hold them at gunpoint and say, here, sign these because these people are complaining to us that you're not signing them? That's why redemptions don't get filled. Not for any other reason. Now, the problem is that Panini and Topps is way better than Panini, but like Panini, the issue is they didn't care. Like Leaf has redemptions too. But here's the thing with Leaf. If that redemption isn't filled within 6 months, they're going to offer you replacement, and it's usually pretty decent. It's not just a random sparkle pack or whatever. Mm-hmm. Part of that is because the contracts are smaller and Leaf's a more nimble company, and they have gone out. Like they had that issue with CD Lamb a couple years ago. They ended up suing him, and they won. Mm-hmm. It's just collectors have to remember that these manufacturers, other than Panini, I hate them. They're not trying to screw you. They're getting screwed, and then they're having to eat it when you call and just rip somebody's head off. And remember, the lady that answers the phone at Topps or the guy that answers the phone at Topps, it's not his fault.
Right.
Treat the employee with some respect, because you're going to get a lot further. Yelling at somebody who has no control over something about your issue is a you problem. Don't be a dick.
Although some of these companies in the hobby just really suck at customer service.
Panini's awful. Topps is actually really good at customer service. You just had a terrible customer service experience, though, so share that.
All right, so let's start out with something I'm really excited about. So a little bit over a year ago, uncle of mine reached out and saw that I was getting pretty active in cards. He's been collecting for quite some time. Huge boxing fan. And then he has a little basketball, baseball as well. A lot of memorabilia. And he was wanting to consider some type of consignment thing. I knew at the time that I was learning this, and I was probably biting off more than I could chew at that point. Because if you take on some consignment and you don't move any of it, or you're getting low offers, or you don't know what to expect or how it works, it's just not a good experience for anybody. But about a year later, I've reached out. I feel really comfortable with it, and so we're working on a first shipment that I'm going to be starting to move this weekend. Inside of that are some really incredible cards. I purchased outright that Topps triple thread that I'm using for the challenge, but there's some big cards in the boxing stuff. Tons of 48 leaf graded PSA.
You getting canceled with one of them?
No, that's a Max Schmeling. So
the card is aggressive.
This is all you wanted to talk about.
I did. The card is aggressive.
Yeah. So Joe Louis, Max Schmeling faced off twice, and the marketing and promotion of this became very much historic in that Schmeling was representing the Rhine, and he has a card that actually has a swastika on it from 56. A very desirable one, as obviously it's a little bit historic significance with it, and Joe Louis. So my uncle collected like per fight. So what that means is I also have a 66 Sonny Liston and a 1966 Panini Cassius Clay rookie.
Beautiful cards.
Out of the Panini
stickers, the
Champions set. It is in a BVG 8.5, which is Beckett's vintage. So it's a really, really, really big card. There's a PSA 9 up for $7,000 right now. And Beckett's Pop Report, which I started searching, it was a Pop 1 8.5, which is what this card is. And I said, wow, I have the highest Pop 1. There's no 9s, no 10s, no 9.5s. I'm thinking, wow, this is a monster. So I punch in the serial number, and it pops up 1984 Cal Ripken Jr.
And you panic. You called me.
My first thought is, oh, no, my uncle got taken. Like somebody, this is a fake. But I started looking through the slab. Everything is right on it. The subgrades were different than the Cal. And that's why I was like, okay, something else is going on here. Because I thought, if they just did something with that plate, then that's what's going on. I did a little more digging, and I found out that there was a time a little while back where the Beckett database just lost almost 20 years worth of Beckett vintage grading.
Yeah, they tried to merge the two databases, BGS and BVG, and it did not go well.
It disappeared. No checks and balances, nothing. So there are tons of these cards that have the wrong serial number on them. So I reached out to G. I reached out to another dealer. I reached out to somebody that collects a lot of vintage, and the overwhelming consensus was, yeah, that happens on those. Everybody's going to crack and resub those anyway. So I reach out to Beckett, and I say, okay, here's the deal. Clearly your database is messed up. How do we fix this? I just kind of left it open-ended. They said, yeah, that did happen. There's about 20 years worth of those, and if they have older serial numbers, they're not there. Beckett treats it as if it's an invalid cert. But they said, we'd be happy to put a new case and serial on it for $10. Oh, by the way, it will have to be inspected to make sure it's still in the condition it was graded in. So they're saying, yes, we screwed up with our database. 2, you can pay to send this in. 3, it might get a lower grade upon review.
Yeah.
So this is just really interesting to me because my uncle, who's collected for quite some time, where he left off, Beckett was the king. So he's thinking there's not a better slab for this to be in because he hasn't been actively buying and selling. He's a collector, right? So he just would buy stuff as he saw it. And I'm saying, yeah, they've kind of fallen off a little bit. Well, then this happens.
Right.
So obviously he's a little bit bummed out about that, but I could not believe that their response was like, yes, 20 years worth of the Beckett, which was kind of treated like this, like, what was it? It was a little more of like a white glove experience for these vintage cards. That was the idea,
you've
right?
paid attention to Beckett over the last 3 years, right?
Yes, but
as they have just
it's been
systematically destroyed their own reputation. Seems like on purpose. Like the list of faux pas and just terrible marketing decisions and bad customer service that they have. It's hard not to think that somebody bought that and went, how can we destroy this?
Yeah.
Let's do that. It's mind numbing. And like you said, a lot of people that are especially newer to the hobby, when I hear people talk about PSA always having been the best, anytime I hear somebody say that, I know that they've only been in the hobby since 2020.
Well, and
they've only been here since 2020. The reality of it is that forever Beckett was the top dog. PSA, I've said this on this podcast before, PSA was where we sent our off-centered cards to get 10s. That's what we did. Beckett was where you sent your nice stuff. Beckett was where you got a true grade, and Beckett carried the highest premium in the market.
Yeah. And now that's just not the case. So it's a unique scenario. What I'm learning is anybody that's collected the Beckett vintage slabs just kind of understands that that's a possibility. But here's what blows my mind. It's not that they just lost it. It's that then they went and reprinted that same serial number again. Don't you know where you left off?
Well, that's the thing. They merged the databases, and nobody thought, hey, we probably ought to have backups of these in case something goes wrong. So they hit the button, and then it disappeared. They didn't know that number had been used.
Like this card, there might be 5 of these on the planet in this type of condition.
Right.
And we're talking about a Muhammad Ali rookie.
Right.
It's going to fetch a big... Now, is this the biggest card in the world? No. Is it a huge card in boxing? Yes.
It's a $5,000 to $7,000 card.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was just blown away that that's how they handled this situation. Also, you call in, which I've never called Beckett because I just never subbed anything there because it was already on the decline as I was getting back into it. The phone menu is hilarious. It was like, for grading services, press 1. For catalogs, press 2. For store catalogs, like if you want the magazines, memorabilia, all this stuff, you click on grading services, which is 99.9% of their income, I would assume at this point, whatever it is. And it just takes you right to a message that says, yeah, go to this website. Thanks. Bye. Hangs up. That was it.
They don't care.
They don't care.
At all.
They don't care. And as I dove into forums, they addressed this issue about 5 to 7 years ago. They just told people, send it in, we'll just reslab it and resert it. And then they realized, whoa, we could charge people for this again. So really bummed out to hear that that's how they're handling it. I'm glad to hear that it is not a fake card. It is legit. I mean, for a collector, that's probably not going to be that important for somebody looking for that card. That's a pretty special.
Correct.
One.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I have those. There's a 32 Babe Ruth in there with Max Schmeling. There's a theme.
Yeah.
Some Floyd Mayweather rookie stuff. The Tyson 87 Panini sticker and a PSA 9, which
it's a really cool
that
one.
card. It popped off. There's a really big purchase on that. I kind of split the difference on that, but it was a verified purchase. So that one could be a cool one to move too. So a lot of fun stuff to sell with that. First time taking on some bigger consignment stuff. And then the other thing he sent was a bunch of memorabilia. JSA is going to be at this show, but there's like a David Ortiz, Manny Ramirez, Jorge Posada, Garrett Anderson baseballs, all signed. Manny Ramirez batting gloves.
I kind of want those.
Yeah.
Well,
what's interesting?
If they start out, I kind of want them.
So both gloves are signed. So do you sort them individually and split them out, or do it as a pair with both of them having signatures? It's kind of interesting.
I would split them out.
Yeah,
Because it's two different. It's not like he wore both gloves to bat.
he did. But
Was he a 2-glove guy?
yeah, he's a 2-glove guy.
He was a 2-glove
Yeah.
guy? Okay.
But you could still split them out, just like
Yeah.
Ali boxing gloves.
Yeah.
You know, it would be the same thing. So, so be doing that, and then taking out some like a Bird jersey, a Bo Jackson jersey, some other stuff. So, anyway, that was a really interesting exchange with Beckett. I knew it was bad. I didn't know it was that bad.
Yeah, it's rough.
And it's sad to hear serious vintage collectors saying, yeah, if I get anything to BVG, it's just immediately getting graded.
Yeah, cracked out and resub.
If this doesn't sell before the National, my plan is to just do on-site PSA. It's probably my best bet with that. It'll be $400 to grade it.
Yep.
But, now, those, they bring the machines and slab them on site.
Yeah, but we'll be up there on Thursday, but you'll have to get in line early if you want it back by the end of the show.
Yeah. Now, the other thing is, so you were talking about JSA and the machines that they wouldn't be able to do that on site, but like the National, they could set up for that if they start doing that with baseballs and bats.
If they start encapsulating, but I don't think they will.
Yeah.
I think it'll still be send off. And
Okay.
yeah.
Interesting. All right. Well, I did a lot of talking there for
That's
us, only
okay.
being 35 minutes in.
Yeah. I appreciate it because you tell me I monologue all the time. You got to turn
Yeah.
today. You got to do your thing.
Yeah, that's right. Any closing thoughts before we head out?
Well, we didn't talk about tops other than the redemptions.
Oh, well, let's do that.
Yeah, we still had two more
the
things
other-
to talk about.
2 more things. I got one more.
Okay. Well, the one thing is 2 things.
The one thing is 2 things.
Yeah.
Topps Chrome is being released this year in basketball and in football. Kind of.
Yeah.
Did I say that right?
Yeah, it's going to be non-licensed from the leagues, but licensed from the players' associations.
Glamour shots.
So it'll be like Panini's baseball cards were for a while, where it's just airbrushed. But it's Topps Chrome, and the one thing that we saw this year is that the non-licensed Topps products have done pretty well.
Yeah.
What I'm interested to see is what price point they bring them out at. Are they going to bring Chrome basketball and Chrome football out at a price point that's more equivalent to what most non-licensed products come out at, like they did with Bowman U and stuff like that? Or are they going to do it at a high price point and say, hey, guys, just so you're aware, this is where these things are going to be priced when they are licensed. Get ready.
So the question is, does Topps Chrome do a Wemby rookie?
They've already said they are.
Okay.
Yeah, autos will be in the product, on-card autos, yeah.
So this is a little bit like Junk Wax era, where they're getting rookie cards for 2 years, 3 years.
Well, no, because the Topps Chrome basketball that comes out is going to be 2023, so is football.
Oh, it is
Football's gonna
March
be
of
2023 as
Okay.
well, yeah.
Okay, I like that. So those need to be dropping pretty soon then, right?
Third quarter is what they said.
Okay.
So we'll plan on seeing them in August.
You know, if that's an affordable product because of how much I like it, I'll probably rip some of that for sure. If they come out steep on that, I think that's a big miss because they're going to be
There'll
able to...
be retail configurations.
Sure, but build a little bit of value and then drop the hammer on the
That's what I
license
think.
stuff.
But I do think everybody should be prepared. I think football has a much better shot at being an affordable product. The basketball, they might get aggressive on because it has Wemby in it. And I don't follow a ton of NBA. I watch once the playoff comes around and stuff. But listen, guys, I have watched a decent amount of that kid this year. He's a freak show.
Yeah.
Like an absolute unreal freak show.
Yeah. As advertised.
Better than advertised.
Yeah,
better than advertised. If his body doesn't break down on him, we're looking at an all-timer.
Wow.
We're looking at an all-timer. Like, the kid's a freak.
Yeah. His Nike logo is sick. Did you see? We
Yeah.
talked about that already, though. All right. Now have we covered everything?
I think so.
You ready to load up and road trip?
I am ready to rock and roll. Go have some fun, make some money.
Gary and I, if you hear of a roof blowing off of a hotel, we'll be snoring in the same
I won't be
room.
snoring.
Oh, no. You'll be like Goose.
Yeah, I got my face mask. I'm good.
Guys,
to go.
I'll be in the same room with Darth Vader all weekend. That's basically what I'm saying. Just because I don't wear one of those doesn't mean I don't need to wear one of
Correct.
those.
I've slept in a room with you before. You definitely need to wear one of those.
Yeah, well, anyway. Gary had I'll just leave that alone. I'll leave
Oh, that's not nice.
I was going to tell him how you were about to book a king bed.
Well, it was cheaper. It's big bed.
Okay, so let's stop right there. I've seen how much money you spend on cards and hobbies.
Yes, that's why I'm able to do that.
How much more would it have cost? How much more did it cost for the doubles?
Like $30.
$30 to not be in the same bed.
Yeah, but we're a long ways away from each other.
What
in
did
a
we end up
king-size
doing?
bed. Oh, we got the full size because you threw a fit like a little girl.
Yeah, that's the problem. He's viewing me as the little girl in this relationship. It's not happening. This has been the Ball Card Show, the sports podcast.
For the Sports Collector.
Bye now.
Peace.